Galacticos, we are ready. We are ready to start. Hello, how are you? As always, a pleasure to be with you. Let's talk today about the UEFA Player of the Year Award 2016, the European Player of the Year. I had a couple of doubts today. I was doubting if it was for a European player, let's say a European-born player for European nationals, or for players who play in Europe. Obviously, is players who play in Europe because Messi and Suarez were nominated in the list of 10 that we'll see in a bit. Now, my first impression, my first reaction to this was, it's kind of redundant having the FIFA Ballon d'Or and this UEFA Player of the Year. Not technically, because the FIFA Ballon d'Or is supposedly an award that is given to players all around the world. Let's say the best player in the world. But being honest, I don't remember last time we saw a guy winning the Ballon d'Or that was not a player in Europe. You know, if I see one day, you know, an MLS player or maybe a player in the Argentinian league or in Mexico or in China win the Ballon d'Or, then I'll believe that. But, you know, given the circumstances with world football as it is, where, you know, the best level is in Europe, I think it's kind of redundant, but well, it is what it is. You know, more prizes and more awards. So let's go in order. First, let's go with people who were nominated. We're going to talk about this for a while. All right, I'll see some people there. Toy Foxy says in Spanish. We did it in Spanish already on Facebook. We'll let you know on Twitter and our Facebook accounts. Soy de Mexico. Hi, says Stefan Schwarzmeyer, says hi. Amigos, lo acabamos de hacer en español en Facebook. That's more or less what we do. So we're going to do it in English for English subscribers here on YouTube. Okay. We're not going to do it in Spanish, amigos. We're going to do it in English. All right. We already did it on Facebook in Spanish. Right now, you can go to our Facebook page at Real Galacticos and watch it there. We just finished 5 minutes ago, but we have to do it in English here. Hunger Games is a great channel. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's talk about this prize. The list came out a couple of weeks ago with the 10 players that were nominated for the podium. Today, the podium, let's say the 3 finalists were announced, and the winner will be announced on the 25th of August at the same moment or in the same ceremony where the first draw is going to happen for the Champions League. August 25th, for the first round, you know, the group stage of the Champions League. There, they're going to announce the winner. So let's go with the nominees. And the nominees are... Ta-da! Here we have the nominees. So let's go one by one. Let's talk about Ronaldo win, no doubt. Said Ala Madrid English. Kimo, Ala Madrid English. Ricardo Abraham is, I'm from Peru. Real Galacticos is the best program. Thank you. So, guys, English, please. Stop asking me to do it in Spanish. I will not do it in Spanish. I already did it in Spanish. Ya lo hice en español. Si quieren ver el video, está en nuestro Facebook. Vayan a Facebook Real Galacticos and then you will see it. Okay. Gareth Bale. Taking into account that this is an award that is given for the year's performance, it is true that here in Europe, or well, in the world, we kind of only remember or have, you know, fresh in our memory what happened in the last couple of months, especially in the summer with a Copa America and with a Euro Cup. It's hard to think that a player that maybe, you know, didn't play well in the Euro Cup could win this prize, or the other way around. You know, maybe a player didn't do that well during the season, but, you know, excelled in the Euro Cup. So everybody's asking, like, why is he not here? So let's go with Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale had a good season. It was a very strong season. But the thing is, during the course of the first 6-7 months, he was out for like 2 or almost 3 with 2 different injuries. So we didn't see much of Gareth Bale. In the Champions League, which is, you know, the only title that Real Madrid won, he didn't score any goals. It is true that in the end, he was very important, but he couldn't score goals. And I think definitely he's on this podium because of what he did with Wales in the Euro Cup. It's true they didn't win it. Well, had they won it, it would have been, you know, the biggest upset maybe in sports history. So I think that's what put Gareth Bale in there, the fact that he led Wales to such an amazing Euro Cup. I don't know if you agree there with me. Football God says Ronaldo deserves it because without him, Madrid would not win UCL and Portugal would not win Euros. Yeah, I think that's why he's in the podium, and I think that's why he's probably going to win it. But that's about Gareth Bale. So I think fair or not fair, well, a lot of we're talking to some Barca fans who are saying, "Oh, how is Suarez not in the podium?" Well, let me tell you something, man. In a summer with Copa America and Euro Cup, naturally this is going to have an important or specific weight for this decision. Suarez went to the Copa America. He didn't play the first game. He played the second or the third with Uruguay, and they got knocked out in the first round. For Uruguay, being knocked out in the first stage of, or in the group stage of a Copa America is a total disaster. It is something maybe, very close to unacceptable. And for Gareth Bale to lead Wales to the semifinals of the Euro, I mean, of course, yeah, Suarez scored 40 goals, yeah, but you have the golden boot for that. We can't give all the awards to the top scorer. The top scorer prize is the golden boot. He gets it. Okay, so Gareth Bale, is it fair that he's in the podium? I think it is. I definitely think it is. Maybe, he maybe not winning it, but I think it's fair he's on the podium. Buffon, well, for Buffon, I think, more of an acknowledging to a great career. Definitely, well, a great year at Juventus. They got knocked out by Bayern Munich in that game where I don't understand how they lost that game. They were 1 minute away from winning it and knocking Bayern out. But they won the Serie A. And Buffon showed again in the Euro Cup that, even though he's 38, he's still probably the best keeper around. So, yeah, deserved to be in that list of nominees. I think he is. Antoine Griezmann, well, definitely, great season for him. Strong with Atleti, scoring a lot of goals. Scoring very important goals in the Champions League. I mean, let's remember, it was Griezmann goals who knocked out Barcelona in the quarterfinals and Bayern Munich in the semifinals. That's a big thing. And it was, I'm not going to say Griezmann on his own, but, a pretty strong factor for France to be in that final of the Euro Cup as well. So Griezmann deserves to be in the podium, absolutely. Toni Kroos, I think Toni Kroos, again, he's on that list because of what he did in the Euro. He led a great Germany until they lost. And it was clear he was playing very well. Real Madrid season was not that bright. A lot of on and off moments. We ended up winning the Champions League, and I would say Kroos was integral. But I don't think this hasn't been my favorite Kroos season in Real Madrid, and that's all I can say. I think his performance with Germany puts him in the list of nominees. That he deserved to be in the podium? I don't think so. Messi. Messi is a case apart. Messi, in the end, when you're talking about the best player in Europe, in the world, Messi should always be in the podium because, he's probably one of the best. But let's talking about the season. I don't think he had a great season. Barcelona won the league and the Copa del Rey, but Messi, of course, Messi is important for those titles. But I would say that Suarez was maybe more key. And then Messi had that weight that he has when he plays for Argentina, getting to the final. I think Messi did an amazing Copa America until he got to the final. I don't think he played bad. But, you missed a penalty in the shootout, and what can I tell you, man? These awards cannot be linked to such ethereal concepts. They have to be linked to realities, to numbers, to trophies. And, this was not Messi's best season at all. So, is it fair that he's not in the podium? A lot of people would complain. When people see that Messi's not in the podium, they think, okay, it's rigged. This award is worth nothing because Messi's not there. But come on, season was not that good. So Messi, well, you'll be in another podium in the future for sure. So anyway, Thomas Müller. This kind of surprised me. He had a good season with Bayern, but pretty much every Bayern player had a good season in the Bundesliga. Champions League, didn't like it that much. I don't think he was that, let's say, relevant or transcendent. In the Euro Cup, either. He wasn't able to score one goal, which is a kind of a burden that he has. He's one of the top scorers in the history of the World Cups with Germany, but hasn't been able to score one single goal in a Euro Cup. So I don't really, of all the players on this list, probably Thomas Müller is the player that kind of shocks me the most. Let's see what people say. In my opinion, Real won't be worse without Cristiano. He has no impact in the game and is just a goal scorer. Don't get me wrong, I like him, but he's not the same Ronaldo like 4 or 5 years ago. Sorry. Okay, says Stefan Schwarzmeier. That's an interesting point. But my argument here is a lot of people tend to simplify the fact that he only scores goals. Like it wasn't the most important thing in the game. A guy that gives you 50 goals in a season cannot be secondary or accidental. So It is true that he doesn't participate or interact so much in the playmaking or in the creation of the game, but you need a guy like that, to give the final touch. And when he's on, he's still on. So I completely agree with you. There will be life after Cristiano, and I think we already should be changing our system to not orbit around Cristiano that much because he can't play as he did 4 or 5 years ago. I agree with you there totally. But the argument that he only scores goals is like saying, I don't know, is a basketball player that only puts baskets in. That's all you need. But anyway, let's keep talking about the list. And then, of course, we have Neuer. Neuer again had a good season, but again, it's the lack of titles that ended up not putting these players on the podium. Say Neuer, okay, Bundesliga, but it is not anymore such a big achievement for a Bayern Munich player to win the Bundesliga. Let's be honest here. Champions League, okay, they made it to the semifinals, but they lost. And then Euro Cup, they made it to the semifinal and they lost. So very difficult to see. I mean, the only player in the podium without a title is Griezmann, and I think that's enough. And then, of course, is Pepe. Again, Pepe, I think, didn't have his best season at Real Madrid, again, on and off. But again, this all goes to my argument that we're only really remembering the last part of the season, which is what, stays in our retina the most. But Pepe had an on and off season. It was not his best season at all. But ended very strong, which was key for Real Madrid winning the Champions League and almost, taking that league from Barcelona. And to me, in Portugal, in this Euro Cup, Pepe was maybe more important or more relevant than Cristiano. Pepe had an awesome Euro Cup, pretty much excelled in every game. He was the man of the match of the final, and that is a big achievement for a center-back. So I think, maybe Pepe could have been in the podium, but of course, Pepe is not such a media or mediatic player, and he's not a striker. So maybe that weighed for him not to be on the podium. But talking about merits and deserving it, I don't know, man. I liked what Pepe did, and just think about this. He was the MVP of the final of the Euro Cup that he won. But still, Pepe is a center back. I don't know. And then, of course, Cristiano and Luis Suarez. We already talked about Luis Suarez. Luis Suarez had a great season. He put the Barca on his back right at the end when it was looking like they were going to lose it. Something that they had already won in maybe February or something like that. They got distracted. And Suarez was great. But again, summer of international competitions, if you don't perform at least well or decently with your national team, you're not going to be taken into account for these prices. And I think that's the case with Suarez. It's fair. It's fair. Uruguay being knocked out at the first stage of the Copa America was a big disappointment. I expected more. Let's see, does anybody really have doubts about who the award will be given to? Cristiano y nada más este año, es Marcos Paredes. Says, sorry for bad English, I want to speak Espanol, but a major fan base, so I compromise. All right, guys, I have to say a big up for all of you who speak Spanish and are watching this in English. Some of you want to practice and maybe improve your English, which is great. And I really respect that. I was an English teacher for 10 years. That's something you maybe didn't know. 9 years I was an English teacher. So that's great. Guys, we appreciate the effort. Keep doing it. And maybe you can improve a little bit with time. Okay, those were the nominees. All right, now let's talk about the podium. Of course, el bicho Cristiano Ronaldo. Antoine Griezmann, the little prince. And Gareth Bale, of course. So out of these three players, let's see. Of course, Bale and Cristiano play for Real Madrid, and Griezmann plays for Atletico, which is, I don't think it's fair to say, it's a weaker team, or let's say a less powerful team, but they are getting there. I don't think it's fair anymore to say that Atletico is like a Cinderella anymore. That's not true. Actually, so far in the transfer, the team in Spain that has spent the most money is Atletico de Madrid. So, it's not fair to say it should be given to Griezmann because he did what he did for Atletico de Madrid. That's not anymore. It could have been the case 3, 4, 5 years ago, but not anymore. So, let's take that out of the equation. Gareth Bale. I think Gareth Bale had an amazing end of the season, ending very strong. And of course, putting Wales in the semi-final of the Euro Cup again. I keep saying it and I keep kind of surprising myself. So I think those are Bale's cards, let's say. Not a lot of goals. Let's say, well, he's not necessarily a goal striker, given that Cristiano is in charge of that. But he did score, I think, 19 or 20 goals this season. And, at the end of the season, when Cristiano wasn't there to score those goals, it was Bale taking the responsibility in that game in Anoeta against Real Sociedad, that game in Vallecas. So I think Gareth Bale has done enough merits to be there, but maybe not to win it. Because at the end, if we get more, let's say, something that we can touch or we can see, like numbers, compare Bale and Cristiano. Titles, one for Bale, the same as for Cristiano, but Cristiano has a Euro Cup. Cristiano has more goals. Same thing with Griezmann. I think Griezmann was key to putting Atletico in the final of the Champions League, definitely, but he had that penalty in the beginning of the second half, and he missed it. I know it's very harsh to say, it was just, anybody can miss a penalty. Yeah, anybody can miss a penalty. We're not criticizing that, but if you do miss it, don't expect to get an award. Such an important penalty. And I think Griezmann was probably the one of the few, or maybe the only, I'm going to go on a limb here, maybe the only reason why France played that final. They couldn't win it. If they had won it, let me say this. Had those two games gone a different way, for some little details, like for example, Atletico winning that Champions League final and France winning that final of the Euro Cup, there would be no doubt that Griezmann was going to get this award. And, well deserved if that had happened. But it didn't. And then let's go to Cristiano. Cristiano, what can I say? On and off in the season, we kind of criticized a lot that in the first maybe 7 months, he didn't really show up in important games. But he ended up doing what he does, scoring lots of goals, very important, especially in those quarterfinals against Wolfsburg. And, being the top scorer of the Champions League, again. And not only of this year's edition, but, in history, in the history of the Champions League, the player that has scored the most goals is Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, and how many players for how many decades have been playing that? And the same thing with the Euro Cup. I don't think Cristiano did a great Euro Cup. I was expecting more from him. But again, he kind of showed up in key moments. Moments that you can count with the fingers of one hand. But he did it. In that third game against Hungary, when, apparently Portugal were very close to getting knocked out, he scored 2 amazing goals, put Portugal through. And then in the semifinals, that amazing header that was all over the place, jumping like Michael Jordan and, man, come on. And then in the final, I was very sad to see him, go out and injured, at minute 25. It is true that injury happened at 7. I was very disappointed. I was really looking forward. That was probably Cristiano's biggest game of his career. And for a guy like Cristiano, with a career like Cristiano's, to miss that game or to have to leave that game after 10 minutes was heartbreaking. We all remember the tears. We saw him cry. It was really emotional. So it will always be a mystery what would have happened. We'll never know. Of course, we'll never know. But what happened, and it is that they won it. And even though Cristiano was not on the pitch in the final, he was, in a big part responsible for putting Portugal there, not only in the Euros, but also in the qualifying for the Euros. Cristiano is the captain and the soul, the leader of that team. So, it's just natural to kind of link both, even though he didn't play the final. But, so having said that, let me remove Griezmann out of the picture. Is kind of interrupting my face. So I'll just leave Cristiano and Bale. But yeah, I think after all that analysis of the players in the season, I think it's fair. The podium is fair. Who's going to win it? As you guys, as Portugal would have lost if Ronaldo had played. They depend too much on him, says Michael Caetano. Our friend Michael Caetano, can't believe our friend Michael Caetano is a Barcelona fan. And I think, yeah, would have, could have, should have. How do you know that, man? How do you know that Portugal would have lost the game if Cristiano had played? Maybe they would have won it 1-0 with a Cristiano goal. Who knows? It's true that I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't agree with that. I don't agree that with that opinion. But yeah, I love that you come here and comment, and in most opinions we don't agree, but that's the beauty of it. So Michael, thank you for being here. Manuel Gonzalez says, in my opinion, the real backbones are Navas and Casemiro. We suffer without them. Your opinion on them? I feel when they are injured, we suffer. What is your opinion on them? How do we succeed without? Absolutely agree with you. I think the backbone is Keylor. Actually, at the end of the season, we made a video on our MVP of the. You can look for it in the channel. And our MVP for the Galacticos, our MVP of the season was Keylor Navas, based on consistency and never performing under 9 or 8. Of course, we had Cristiano excelling in some games, but AWOL in some other games. Same with Bale, same with Benzema, same with everybody. So to us, Keylor is one of the backbones, and also Casemiro. What's my opinion? That they're great players, and I hope to see them many more years in Real Madrid. James or Casemiro in midfield? Well, Stefan, that's kind of a very open-ended and tricky question, because they don't do the same thing. It's like asking you Ramos or Cristiano. Casemiro has a very specific role that he does very well, and James has a very different role that he didn't do that well this season, but when he's on, he can be one of the best in the world doing that role. So I don't think it's kind of fair to have to choose between James or Casemiro. Va a haber directo en español. Armando, ya hubo un directo. Anda, míralo a Facebook. Real Galácticos. Hasta ahí. Pogba is overrated. So far, he is overrated. I don't think there's a player besides Cristiano and Messi who is worth that much money. He might be worth in the future. We don't know. Up to now, I agree with that. He's overrated. 110 million pounds is out of this world. What do you think of Sissoko? I like Sissoko, but I don't think he's going to sign for Real Madrid. I think FIFA, having a bit of a hard time reading all your comments, guys. Will Ramos be our best captain in history? I have a little personal thing with Raul. Not only because of what he did on the pitch that was already insane, but his personality and how he behaved on the pitch and off the pitch. I think to see a captain better than Raul, we're going to have to wait, and we'll probably never see. But that's my opinion. If you ask me, your favorite captain of your favorite all-time captain for Real Madrid, I would tell you no, hands down, Raúl González Blanco. That's my opinion. Says, all right, who do we need to buy? We need to buy Vitaly. I would be an awesome striker for Real Madrid. Do you think Carvajal will be a great leader in the future? Yes, I do. What do you think about Jesse leaving? I think it's a bit sad. To be honest with you, I'd rather see Morata leave than Jesse. But, I wish him luck. I hope he excels in PSG. A lot of people are thinking that, it was like an easy move to go to PSG because he will have minutes guaranteed there, and it's not like that at all. The battle for the position in PSG will be probably as hard as it is in Real Madrid. Maybe not with the same players, but you have Di Maria, now they bought Ben Arfa, they have Cavani. Jesse is not going to be a starter just because he's Jesse. So, Say, do Real Madrid need any key signings? We need a better striker like Griezmann. Raúl is the best. You need a haircut. I do need a haircut. I need a lot of things. I need to lose some weight. I need a haircut. I need to exercise more. I need to eat less. Yeah, man. I need a lot of things. Thank you for reminding me, though. That's very lovely. In my opinion, Pepe deserves Ballon d'Or top 3. Agree or disagree? I think at least he should be on this podium. Again, I think the Ballon d'Or is something that is not. I don't know. I think Pepe had an awesome season. He's a great center back. He had a lot of problems in the past, especially with his behavior and kind of going off the rails. But I like Pepe. I think he's a great center back when he's at it. He's one of the best. Ballon d'Or, I don't know. I don't know if I would go that far, but I definitely will agree with you that Pepe is amazing. Anyway, Galacticos, I'm going to have to be leaving. It's been 25 minutes so far. We hope you enjoyed it. Our little analysis of this UEFA Best Player of Europe in 2016. A little bit about the signings and whatever you asked me, and I try to read as fast as you're writing it and try to answer. It's always a pleasure to be with you, Galacticos. Thank you for being here. And Tomorrow, very important. Tomorrow we're releasing this very cool video of La Liga goals, of all the goals that were not scored by the BBC. So I strongly suggest you check it out tomorrow. Have a great weekend. It's a pleasure. Thank you for being there. I'm going to send a couple of shout outs to Andres Aparicio, Ian Franjul, Steven Schwarzmeier, who was in from the beginning, Walid Nasser, Mega Home, Ojeda. José Ojeda, that's very nice. That's very nice, your comment. Por supuesto que entiendo, como hablo español, comentario... Bueno, can't wait for the video, Daniel Lorenzo. Well, you have to wait one more day and tomorrow you'll have it. Ala Madrid, hi, Raheem said thanks. Thanks to Rahimske, thanks. Maris, Joe, we're sorry, we're just ending. We've been on for 25 minutes. To me, to Alejandro, goodbye to Madaf Sainane, Ala Madrid, Daniel Lorenzo. And my friend who with the haircut thing, bye to you too. Saludos para Brothers Martolo, a la madre el bicho, Ulises Beltrán, hi papi, Ultra Sur 9000, superior número 1, It's Wolves. Así que señores, thank you for being there, always a pleasure, and we'll see you tomorrow.